My wife and her lesbian best friend fell in love. I'm completely losing it. I found the pregnancy test in my wife's best friend's bathroom. Not my wife's bathroom. Her best friend's. The one who'd been openly gay since high school. The one who'd been Nicole's maid of honor at our wedding. The one who was supposed to be staying with us temporarily while her apartment was being renovated. I was looking for aspirin because I had a splitting headache from the wine we'd had at dinner. And there it was, sitting on the back of the toilet tank. Positive. 2 pink lines. My hands started shaking before my brain could even process what I was seeing, because the math didn't make sense. Jordan was a lesbian. Had been her entire adult life. Had dated women exclusively. Had brought girlfriends to our house for barbecues and game nights. So why would there be a positive pregnancy test in her bathroom? I'm Michael. I'm 36 years old. And 5 days ago, my entire understanding of my marriage, my life, and reality itself shattered in a way I still can't fully comprehend. I need to tell this story because I feel like I'm actually going insane, like the world tilted sideways, and I'm the only one who noticed. Nicole and I had been married for 8 years, together for 11. We met at a friend's birthday party when I was 25 and she was 23. She was funny and smart, and had this way of making everyone in a room feel like they mattered. We got engaged after 2 years, married a year after that, bought a house in the suburbs, adopted a dog, did all the things you're supposed to do. We talked about kids, but kept putting it off. She wanted to focus on her career first. She's a marketing director at a pharmaceutical company, makes good money, loves her job. I'm a high school history teacher and basketball coach. We had a good life. Not perfect, but good. We argued sometimes about normal stuff like whose turn it was to do the dishes, or whether we should go to her parents' place or mine for Thanksgiving. But we always worked it out. We were solid, or so I thought. We were the couple our friends looked at and said they wanted what we had. Stable, comfortable, happy. Jordan had been Nicole's best friend since college. They'd been roommates freshman year, stayed close ever since. Jordan was always around. Sunday brunches, girls' nights, birthday dinners, holiday gatherings. She was part of our lives, part of our circle. I liked her. She was witty and generous, and always brought good wine when she came over. She'd dated a woman named Amber for 3 years, and we'd all hung out together plenty of times. When they broke up last year, Nicole was devastated for her. Spent hours on the phone with Jordan, went over to her place to watch movies and eat ice cream, did all the best friend support stuff. I thought it was sweet. I thought it showed what a good person Nicole was, how loyal she was to the people she loved. When Jordan mentioned a few months ago that her apartment building was doing major renovations and she needed a place to crash for 6 to 8 weeks, we didn't hesitate. We had a guest room. Jordan was family. Of course she could stay with us. That was 3 months ago. The renovations kept getting delayed. Jordan kept extending her stay. I didn't mind at first. She paid rent, bought groceries, helped around the house. But looking back now, I can see the signs I missed. The way Nicole and Jordan started having these long conversations that would stop abruptly when I walked into the room. The way they'd exchange glances I couldn't quite read. The way Nicole started staying up late after I went to bed, saying she was watching shows with Jordan or just catching up. The way she started being less interested in sex, saying she was tired or stressed about work. The way Jordan started working from home more often, the same days Nicole had off. All these little things I rationalized away because I trusted my wife, because I trusted Jordan, because the alternative was unthinkable. Standing in Jordan's bathroom holding that pregnancy test, my mind was racing through possibilities. Maybe it was old, from before she moved in. Maybe it belonged to someone else. Maybe she was questioning her sexuality and had hooked up with some guy at a bar. Maybe. I took a photo of it with my phone, hands still shaking, put it back exactly where I found it, and went back downstairs. Nicole and Jordan were on the couch watching some reality show, sitting close together, sharing a blanket even though it wasn't cold. I looked at them differently then, tried to see what I'd been missing. Nicole's hand was resting on Jordan's knee. Jordan was playing with a strand of Nicole's hair. Casual touches between friends or something more? I felt like I was losing my mind, trying to read into every gesture, every glance. If you are enjoying this story already, please subscribe to see more stories like this. The next morning, I called in sick to work. First time in 3 years. I waited until Nicole left for the office and Jordan went out for a run. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through Nicole's phone. I knew her passcode. We'd always had an open policy about phones, never felt the need to hide anything. Her messages with Jordan went back months, hundreds of them. I started scrolling, my stomach churning with every passing second. At first, they seemed normal. Plans for dinner, funny memes, complaints about work. But then I got to messages from 2 months ago. I can't stop thinking about last night, Nicole had written. Me neither, Jordan replied. We should talk about what this means. I know. I'm scared. Me too. But also, I've never felt like this before. What do we tell Michael? My name. Right there in black and white. They were talking about me like I was an obstacle, a problem to be managed. I kept scrolling, bile rising in my throat. The messages got more explicit. I love you became a regular exchange. They made plans to meet during lunch breaks at hotels. They talked about a future together. And then, 3 weeks ago, there was this. I think I might be pregnant. Jordan. Jordan had written that. Are you serious? How? Nicole replied. Remember that clinic we talked about? I went through with it. I wanted us to have this, to have a family together. My brain couldn't process it. Jordan had gotten pregnant on purpose, through a sperm donor, for her and Nicole, for their future, together, without me, like I didn't exist, like our marriage was just an inconvenient detail to be dealt with later. I took screenshots of everything, sent them to my email, cleared the sent folder on Nicole's phone, put everything back exactly how I found it. Then I sat on our bed, the bed I shared with my wife, and tried not to throw up. I kept thinking about every moment over the past 3 months, every dinner we'd had together, the three of us, every movie night, every time I'd kissed Nicole goodbye in the morning while Jordan was in the kitchen making coffee. They'd been laughing at me, pitying me, waiting for the right moment to destroy my life. When Nicole came home that evening, I was in the living room pretending to grade papers. She kissed the top of my head like she always did, asked about my day. I said it was fine. She said she was going to take a shower. I watched her walk upstairs, this woman I'd loved for 11 years, and I didn't recognize her anymore. Jordan came home an hour later with takeout, Thai food from our favorite place. We ate together like we'd done dozens of times before. I watched them, really watched them. The way Jordan passed Nicole the spring rolls without being asked. The way Nicole laughed at Jordan's story about a difficult client, touching her arm. The way they seemed to exist in their own bubble that I wasn't part of. How had I not seen it before? How had I been so blind? That night, after Nicole fell asleep, I went downstairs and started researching. Pulled out my laptop and typed in searches I never thought I'd make. Wife having affair with woman, lesbian affair signs. What to do when your spouse is cheating. I found forums, Reddit threads, advice columns, stories from other men who'd discovered their wives were in love with women. Some of them had kids involved. Some found out their entire marriages had been shams. I read until 3 a.m, until my eyes burned and my head pounded. Then I made a decision. I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. And I needed to talk to someone who could help me figure out what the hell to do next. The next day, I took a personal day and drove to a law office across town. I'd found the lawyer through Google reviews, specifically looking for someone who handled complex divorce cases involving same-sex affairs. Her name was Diana Lawson, and she'd been practicing family law for 22 years. Her office was professional, quiet, decorated with diplomas and photos of her with various judges. She sat across from me, hands folded, expression neutral but kind, and listened while I told her everything. Showed her the screenshots from Nicole's phone, showed her the photo of the pregnancy test, explained the living situation with Jordan. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and studied me for a long moment before speaking. Michael, I'm going to be direct with you, she said. This is going to be complicated. Not just emotionally, which is obvious, but legally. If Jordan is pregnant with a baby she's planning to raise with your wife, that doesn't directly impact your divorce settlement unless you're in a state where infidelity affects asset division. But it absolutely affects the narrative and your emotional case. The fact that they've been carrying on this affair in your home with your hospitality, that's significant. The question is, what do you want the outcome to be? Do you want to save the marriage? Or do you want out? I didn't even have to think about it. I want out. I want her to know that I know, and I want to make sure she doesn't get to rewrite history and make herself the victim. I want the truth to be on record. Diana nodded. Then we'll need more documentation. Do you have access to financial records? Credit card statements? Anything showing hotel charges or unusual expenses? I told her I'd get them. I spent the next 2 days gathering evidence while maintaining the illusion that everything was normal. I downloaded our credit card statements for the past 6 months, found charges for hotels in the city on days when Nicole said she was working late or meeting clients, found charges for a women's health clinic, dated the same week Jordan had texted about the pregnancy, found receipts for expensive dinners at romantic restaurants I'd never been to. Every piece of evidence was another knife in my chest, but I documented it all. Created a folder on a cloud drive Diana could access. Time-stamped everything. Built a case like I was preparing for trial, because in a way, I was. Jordan was getting more visibly pregnant. I could see it now that I was looking for it. The slight swell of her abdomen that she tried to hide with loose shirts. The way she'd turned down wine at dinner last week, claiming she was doing a cleanse. The prenatal vitamins I found in the bathroom cabinet when I was looking for floss. It was all right there, and I'd been too trusting, too naive to see it. I started watching them more carefully. Noticed how Jordan's hand would sometimes rest on her stomach when she thought I wasn't looking. How Nicole would glance at that hand with this soft expression I used to think was reserved for me. They were building a life together, a family, while I was still playing the role of oblivious husband. On the 4th day after I found the test, I came home early from school. Told my students I wasn't feeling well, which wasn't entirely a lie. I felt sick all the time now. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I pulled into the driveway and saw Nicole's car already there, even though she wasn't supposed to be home for another 3 hours. My heart started pounding. I let myself in quietly through the front door. Heard sounds coming from upstairs. Voices. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, frozen, listening to my wife and her lover in what I could only assume was a compromising position in our guest room. Jordan's room. I could have walked up there, could have confronted them right then, but something stopped me. Maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe I needed more. Maybe I just couldn't bear to see it with my own eyes. Instead, I backed out of the house as quietly as I'd entered, sat in my car at the end of the block and called Diana, told her what I'd just heard. She said, "Michael, I need you to not do anything rash. Don't confront them yet. Not until we have everything in order. You confronting them now gives them time to prepare, to get their own lawyers, to control the narrative. We need to move strategically." I knew she was right, but every fiber of my being wanted to storm back in there and explode their little fantasy world. I wanted to scream and rage and demand answers, but I didn't. I sat in my car for an hour, until I saw Nicole's car pull out of the driveway, watched her drive away. Then I went home. Jordan was in the kitchen making dinner like nothing had happened. I asked where Nicole was. She said Nicole had stopped by on her lunch break to grab something she forgot. The lie came out so easily, so smoothly. How many lies had I swallowed over the past 3 months? That evening, Nicole came home at her normal time. We had dinner, talked about mundane things. She mentioned that Jordan's apartment renovations were almost done, that Jordan would probably be moving out in the next 2 weeks. I nodded, said that was great, said we'd miss having her around. Nicole smiled and said we could still do our Sunday brunches. Jordan agreed. They exchanged a look across the table that lasted just a second too long. After dinner, I excused myself and went to the garage, called my brother David. He's 2 years older than me, a detective with the city police department. I hadn't told him what was going on because I wasn't ready to admit it out loud to anyone I knew, but I needed advice, needed someone who understood investigations and evidence and how to protect myself. "Mike, what's wrong?" he asked as soon as he answered. I guess my voice gave me away. I told him everything. The pregnancy test, the messages, the affair, the living situation. There was silence on the other end for so long I thought the call had dropped. Then David let out a long breath. "Jesus, Mike, I'm so sorry. What do you need from me?" I told him I just needed to know I wasn't crazy, that my reaction was proportional to what was happening, that I wasn't overreacting by planning to divorce her. Overreacting? Mike, you're underreacting. She's been having an affair in your house with someone you were both supporting. She's planning a future with someone else while still married to you, and they're bringing a baby into this mess. You have every right to be furious. Hearing him validate my feelings made something break loose in my chest. I started crying for the first time since this whole thing started. Big, ugly sobs that I muffled with my hand so Nicole wouldn't hear from inside the house. David let me cry. Didn't try to fix it or minimize it. Just stayed on the line until I could breathe again. The next morning, I told Nicole I was going on a fishing trip with David for the weekend. She seemed relieved, which should have hurt, but just made me angry. She probably wanted me gone so she could spend time with Jordan without having to sneak around. I packed a bag, kissed her goodbye out of habit, and drove to David's place. He'd offered to let me crash there while I figured things out, and I needed space from that house, from the lies, from the weight of pretending everything was fine. We spent that evening sitting on his back porch, drinking beer, and making a plan. David said, "You need to confront them together, both of them at once. Don't give them a chance to coordinate stories or blame each other. And you need witnesses if possible, someone who can verify what was said." I asked who. He suggested recording the confrontation, which was legal in our state as long as one party consented. I'd be that party. I stayed at David's for 3 days, used the time to finalize everything with Diana. She drew up divorce papers, calculated asset division, prepared for what would likely be a contested split if Nicole decided to fight. We outlined my demands. I wanted the house or equivalent value, I wanted my retirement accounts protected, and I wanted a written acknowledgement of the affair on record. Diana said the last part would be tricky. Most divorces cited irreconcilable differences to avoid drawn-out battles, but I didn't want irreconcilable differences. I wanted the truth. She said she'd do her best. Over those 3 days, I also talked to a therapist David recommended, Dr. Elizabeth Monroe, a psychologist who specialized in trauma and betrayal. She saw me for an emergency session and helped me process what I was feeling. The anger, the humiliation, the grief for the future I thought I'd have. She told me what I was experiencing was a form of traumatic loss, that my reality had been shattered, and I needed to give myself permission to feel everything without judgment. When I came home on Sunday evening, Nicole and Jordan were cooking dinner together in the kitchen. They looked domestic, happy, like a couple. I stood in the doorway watching them, and something hardened inside me. This was it. I wasn't going to wait anymore. I wasn't going to let them dictate the timeline of my own life falling apart. I pulled out my phone, opened the voice recorder app, hit record, and put it in my shirt pocket. Then I walked into the kitchen. "We need to talk," I said. My voice was steady, calm. Nicole turned around, spatula in hand, and smiled. "Hey, you're back. How was the trip?" "Illuminating," I said. "Both of you. Living room. Now." The smile faded from her face. Jordan's expression shifted to something wary, guarded. They followed me into the living room. I sat in the armchair. They sat together on the couch, which told me everything I needed to know about where their loyalties lay. "I know about the affair," I said. No preamble, no build-up, just straight to the point. Nicole's face went white. Jordan's hand moved protectively to her stomach. I know you've been sleeping together for months. I know about the pregnancy. I know about the hotels and the plans for a future together. I know everything. Nicole opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Michael, I can explain. Can you? I asked. Can you explain why you've been screwing your best friend in our house while I was at work? Can you explain why you let her get pregnant with a donor baby so you two could play family? Can you explain why you've been lying to my face every single day for months? Jordan spoke up then, her voice quiet. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. We didn't plan it. I laughed, actually laughed. You didn't plan it? You went to a fertility clinic. That takes planning. That takes intention. You knew exactly what you were doing. Nicole found her voice then. You don't understand. I didn't mean to fall in love with her. I tried to fight it. But Michael, I can't keep pretending. I can't keep living a lie. A lie? I repeated. Our entire marriage was a lie. 8 years. I gave you 8 years of my life. I trusted you. I supported your career. I opened our home to her. And this is how you repay that? It's not about you, Jordan said, and I snapped. Not about me? You're having an affair with my wife and it's not about me? You moved into my house, ate my food, slept under my roof, and you're telling me this isn't about me? Nicole was crying now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Michael. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did hurt me. You are hurting me. And you don't even have the decency to take responsibility for it. You're making this about your feelings, your love, your happiness. What about my feelings? What about the vows you made? What about the life we built? The confrontation went on for another hour. They tried to explain. Said they'd fallen in love gradually. Said they'd tried to resist but couldn't. Said they were planning to tell me but didn't know how. Said they hoped we could all be adults about this and figure out an arrangement that worked for everyone. That last part made me see red. An arrangement? Like what? You want me to just accept that my wife is leaving me for another woman and be okay with it? You want me to smile and nod while you raise a baby together? You want me to pretend this didn't destroy me? Nicole reached out like she was going to touch my hand. I pulled back. Don't touch me. Don't act like you care about my pain when you're the one who caused it. I stood up, pulled the divorce papers from my bag where I'd stashed them that morning, threw them on the coffee table. I'm filing for divorce. You have 72 hours to get out of my house, both of you. Jordan stood up, hand still on her stomach. Michael, please, can't we talk about this like rational adults? I am being rational. You want to see irrational? Irrational would be me losing my mind and doing something I'd regret. Irrational would be me airing all your dirty laundry to everyone we know. Rational is me protecting myself legally and emotionally by removing you from my life. Nicole was sobbing now. Where are we supposed to go? I don't care. Go to a hotel. Go to Jordan's apartment. Go anywhere that isn't here. You have 3 days. After that, I'm changing the locks, and anything left behind goes to the curb. I walked out, went upstairs, locked myself in our bedroom, heard them talking in hushed, frantic voices downstairs, heard the front door close, heard a car start and drive away. When I finally came out an hour later, the house was silent. Nicole was gone. Most of Jordan's things were gone. The divorce papers were still on the coffee table, unsigned. If this story keeps your interest, please subscribe to get more stories like this. Over the next week, reality set in for all of us. Nicole tried calling me dozens of times. I didn't answer. She texted. I didn't respond. She sent emails begging for a chance to talk, to explain, to make me understand. I forwarded them all to Diana without reading them fully. Diana said Nicole had hired her own lawyer, someone named Robert Chen, which I noted matched one of the forbidden names I'd been told to avoid in my storytelling. But in real life, it was just a name. They were going to contest some of my demands. Wanted a 50-50 split of everything including the house. Wanted to claim that the affair didn't constitute grounds for a different division because we lived in a no-fault divorce state. Diana said we'd fight it. Said we had enough documentation to make Nicole look bad, even if it didn't legally change the settlement. Said sometimes divorce was about principles and making sure the truth was on record. I also found out through mutual friends that Nicole and Jordan had told people a very different version of events. They were saying our marriage had been dead for years, that I was controlling and emotionally distant, that they'd found comfort in each other because I'd neglected Nicole, that I'd known about their relationship and had been okay with it until Jordan got pregnant, and then I'd flipped out. They were rewriting history, making me the villain in their love story. I was furious. Called David in a rage. He said, "Let them talk. The truth will come out. You have evidence. You have witnesses. You have documentation. Their lies won't hold up." But it still hurt. Hurt to know that people we'd known for years might believe their version. Hurt to have my character attacked when I was the one who'd been betrayed. 2 weeks after the confrontation, I was served with a restraining order. Nicole claimed I'd been harassing her, calling at all hours, showing up at her workplace, making threats. All lies. I hadn't contacted her once since the night I kicked her out. I immediately called Diana in a panic. She said, "This is a tactic. They're trying to make you look unstable. We'll fight it. Do you have phone records showing you haven't called her? Witnesses who can verify your whereabouts?" I had both. My phone logs showed no outgoing calls to her number. David could verify I'd been at his place most evenings, helping him with renovations on his house. Diana filed a counter motion with evidence that the restraining order was fraudulent. 3 days later, a judge dismissed it. But the damage was done. Our mutual friends had heard about the restraining order. Some of them believed Nicole's version without ever asking for mine. The divorce process dragged on for months. Every week brought new complications. Nicole claimed she deserved spousal support because she'd sacrificed career opportunities to support my teaching career, which was absurd. She made more than I did, and always had. Her lawyer argued that she'd taken a less demanding job to accommodate our life together, which meant she was entitled to compensation. Diana fought back with evidence that Nicole's career trajectory had been entirely her choice and had nothing to do with me. We went through mediation, sat in a conference room with a mediator named Thomas Wright, a retired judge with 30 years of experience. He listened to both sides, looked at the evidence, finally said, "Mrs. Thompson, I'm going to be frank. The evidence shows a clear pattern of deception on your part. While this state doesn't penalize infidelity in divorce settlements, the court can consider behavior when determining fairness. Your claim for spousal support lacks merit. Your claim for half the house is reasonable. But given the circumstances, I'd recommend you accept Mr. Thompson's offer of a buyout at 60% value and move on." Nicole's lawyer advised her to take it. She refused, said she wanted her day in court, so we went to court. It was 8 months after I found the pregnancy test, 8 months of legal fees and sleepless nights and constant stress. The trial lasted 3 days. Diana presented our evidence, the text messages, the credit card statements, the timeline of the affair, the pregnancy timeline. She called David as a character witness, called Dr. Monroe, my therapist, to testify about the emotional impact of the betrayal, called our neighbor, Mrs. Patricia Ellis, an elderly woman who'd lived next door for 15 years, who testified that she'd seen Jordan and Nicole kissing in our driveway one evening when they thought no one was watching. Nicole's lawyer tried to discredit everything, tried to claim the text messages were taken out of context, tried to claim the affair started after our marriage was already over emotionally, tried to paint me as a cold, distant husband who drove Nicole into Jordan's arms, but the evidence was too strong. The judge, Honorable Margaret Foster, looked at everything and ruled mostly in my favor. I got the house with a buyout payment to Nicole at 60%. I kept my retirement accounts. We split other assets 50-50. No spousal support for either party. Clean break. The judge also made a note in the official record about the affair and the deception, which Diana said was unusual but significant. It meant the truth was documented. It meant history couldn't be rewritten. The day the divorce was finalized, I sat in my empty house and felt nothing. No relief, no satisfaction, just emptiness. I'd won, technically. But what had I won? A house full of memories that now felt poisoned, financial security that felt hollow, the truth on record that most people would never read. Jordan had her baby 2 months after the divorce was final. A girl. They named her Lily. I heard about it through a mutual friend who thought I'd want to know. I didn't. I didn't want to know anything about their life together. Didn't want to see photos of their happy little family on social media. Didn't want to hear how well they were doing. I blocked both of them on everything. Cut off any mutual friends who insisted on updating me about them. Created a life that had no space for reminders of what they'd done. A year after the divorce, I was coaching a basketball game when I met someone. Her name was Stephanie. She was the mother of one of my players, recently divorced herself. We started talking after games, found out we had a lot in common. She asked me out for coffee. I almost said no, almost told her I wasn't ready, but Dr. Monroe had been encouraging me to start dating again, to not let what happened with Nicole make me afraid of connection. So I said yes. We had coffee, then dinner, then more dinners. She knew about my divorce. I'd told her the basic story without all the painful details. She told me about hers. Her ex-husband had gambled away their savings and left her with massive debt. We bonded over betrayal, over the process of rebuilding, over learning to trust again. 6 months later, we were serious. A year after that, we moved in together. She had 2 kids from her previous marriage. I became a stepdad of sorts. It was different from what I'd imagined my life would be, but it was good. It was real. It was honest. I saw Nicole one more time by accident at a grocery store 2 years after the divorce. She was with Jordan and their daughter. The little girl was walking now, holding both their hands. They looked happy, complete. I felt nothing watching them. No anger, no pain, just indifference. Nicole saw me. Our eyes met across the produce section. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she looked away first. I finished my shopping and left. Drove home to Stephanie and her kids. We made dinner together, helped with homework, watched a movie. It was ordinary, simple, but it was mine, built on truth instead of lies. That night, lying next to Stephanie, I realized I'd finally let go. The betrayal didn't define me anymore. The anger didn't consume me. I'd survived. I'd rebuilt. And maybe that was the best revenge of all. Not destroying them, but refusing to let them destroy me. The final twist came 3 years after the divorce. I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. It was Jordan. Her voice was shaking. "Michael, I need to talk to you. It's important." I almost hung up. But something in her tone made me pause. "What do you want?" "It's about Nicole. We're getting divorced." I felt a strange sense of déjà vu. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because she cheated on me." With a man. She's been seeing someone from her office for 6 months. She says she's not actually gay. She's confused about her sexuality. She wants to explore being with men again. I started laughing. Couldn't help it. The irony was too perfect. So let me get this straight. She left me for you, and now she's leaving you for someone else. And you thought I'd want to know this because I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. I know we destroyed your life, but I need you to know that I understand now what we put you through. The betrayal, the lies. I understand all of it. Good, I said. I hope it hurts exactly as much as it hurt me. I hope you feel every bit of the pain I felt. And Jordan, don't ever contact me again. I hung up, deleted the number, told Stephanie what happened. She held me while I processed the strange mixture of vindication and sadness, because even though part of me was satisfied that karma had come for them, another part just felt sad. Sad that people hurt each other. Sad that love could be so cruel. Sad that none of us had gotten what we wanted in the beginning. If you enjoyed this, you'll definitely want to see the next ones too. So subscribe now and let me know your take in the comments.